Welcome to the Create the Life You Want podcast, where we break down the journey of people just like you going from dream to ownership in business acquisitions, franchises, and startups. I'm your host, Jeremy Ames. Today's episode is brought to you ad-free by Guidant Financial. Guidant is America's leading company helping aspiring entrepreneurs use retirement funds to buy or start businesses. If you're committed to buying or starting a business, you can find out more about your funding options by going to www.guidantfinancial.com. That's Guidant financial.com. Now, let's get started with the show. Welcome all to the Create the Life You Want podcast. I am very excited to share our special guest here, Eric Torres Garcia. Eric has a really cool story. Welcome, Eric. You can see he just walked straight out of his manufacturing facility. He is doing work up to the last minute of this interview, and really excited to have him here today. He's got a unique, inspiring story of someone who created an idea from scratch. So sometimes we talk about franchises, sometimes we talk about people buying existing businesses. Eric is a story of creating a startup idea of his own. So Eric, welcome.
Hey, Jeremy. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be here today. I'm always excited to share my story, hopefully inspire others to either continue their journey, start their journey, or pursue their journey, or, jump into other ventures. It's always fun talking about how I started. So thanks for having me.
Well, I have no doubt people will find it inspiring. So why don't we start with explaining what your business is, which will explain why you're wearing a hairnet hat right now.
Yeah, so my name is Eric. I'm the president owner of Cocoa Bombs LLC. Cocoa Bombs is the original creator of the hot chocolate bombs. So I'm sure you guys have heard of them before. Basically, the chocolate ball, hollow, filled with a lot of mini marshmallows, in some cases, different shapes, sizes, and then you drop it into a mug, pour hot milk over it, and then out bursts a ton of mini marshmallows, and it makes a cup of hot chocolate. It's really a new way to make hot chocolate. It's a fun and innovative way. It's a novelty item. People love them. We sell a ton during Q4, and our biggest time of the year is definitely holidays, and our target is all demographics.
Awesome. Well, Eric, I'd love to start with where this idea came from. So maybe you could give us just a little background on the component pieces that all sort of lined up for you to get to this idea. And I think it started with an internship after college.
Yeah, so actually, kind of just to give you guys some backstory. So I went to Boise State University, have a bachelor's in international business administration. One of the requirements for that program was to go study abroad or do some sort of internship on the international side of things. I obviously opted to go study abroad. It was always a dream of mine. So I chose to go to Italy, and I worked there, just a short internship at a gelato shop, at a gelateria. And that's where I learned really a lot of working with chocolate, working with food. And to me, I feel like that's always been a fun sector category to go into. So I kind of picked up a lot of things there, especially making gelato chocolate pastries. Chocolate really caught my attention, mainly because in Europe they have these little, not even little, it's basically almost all everywhere, but they have these hollow chocolate eggs. We can get sort of the same version here in the States, but it's a little different over there. Hollow chocolate egg, you eat the shell, and then on the inside there's a little capsule with a toy. Kids put it together. I thought that was super cool. I love that. During Easter, they blow them up in sizes. They're as big as your head, even bigger. Just a giant chocolate egg, and then they sometimes put a whole bottle of wine in there. They put, a whole outfit in there, and it's a gifting item that you give during the Easter season. I thought that really inspired me. I thought that was super cool. I was like, why don't we have anything like that in the States? Supermarkets carried them, year round. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Once I got back, I graduated from BSU. I kind of just started playing around with this idea in my head. I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something I can do there that sort of goes around the rules of not having non-edible item inside of an encapsulated chocolate shell item. So I, brainstormed a couple things, got stuff together. I think at that point, I maybe only had like $20 to my name. I was living with a friend on his couch, and Next thing, kind of just slowly happened. I got a prototype put together. I took a video of it. And what's really funny is I posted this video to my personal social media pages. So like my Instagram, my TikTok, my Snapchat, all those kind of pages. And it got a lot of attention. But when I told people that I would make them and sell them, it never converted to a sell. So what I ended up doing was pulling that video from all those channels. I just erased the video from those from my personal pages, and then I used a 2 week free Shopify trial to just kind of put a website together. They have some awesome pre-made templates, chose one that I really liked, took some pictures, did some digital graphics, popped it all together. And then I kind of just set some pricing based on what I had bought everything off of the supermarket with. And slowly but surely, I got it together. And then I went back and I posted that same video, but this time under a different name. So I came up with the name Cocoa Bombs, and I checked all the channels. Nobody had it. There was not a product like this out there. So what I first did was took the TikToks and then everything else, Instagram, Twitters, Facebooks. But I posted that video on TikTok just kind of with a caption like, oh, who would buy this product? And in the background was Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. And it showed the ball, just kind of dropping into a mug, and then, milk going over it. And then it exploded and little snowman marshmallows rose to the top. And I wasn't expecting a lot, if I'm being honest. I just posted the video, but a couple minutes later, I started seeing, the view counts go up, and it went from 100 to like 1,000 and then 3,000. And then I started hearing my phone go off, just like cha-ching. And I was like, oh, what is that? I'd never heard that sound before, but it was my first sale through Shopify. I was like, okay, that's super cool. Like maybe I'll wait till the end of the day to get a few more and I'll start working on everything tomorrow. I severely underestimated just like the power of social media and how quick things could go viral. It was my first time going viral. I've gone viral a couple times under the brand and under my personal pages, but that's a different story. But the first time I went viral, yeah, I got first order, and then a couple minutes later, second order, and then posted that video like around 2 p.m., something like that. By 11 p.m., my phone was constantly going off. I had already done a little over $8,000 in sales nationwide. And the funny thing is I was in the legal business at the time. I had no idea how to make these. I had only made one prototype from Dollar Tree, Walmart items, and all of a sudden I had to make over 1,000 and ship to hundreds of customers all over the country. So it was very intimidating to say the least. I actually put a stop to it. I just put sold out on the website. Hey, this is unexpectedly went viral. We really did not expect this much exposure, this many orders to come through. We're gonna wait to get through this first round of orders and hopefully open up our shop in the few weeks to come. I immediately put a newsletter on our website, so people opted into the newsletter. At this point, I think we have around 20,000 subscribers to our newsletter, and it just continues to grow. And yeah, in a nutshell, that was the first day, the first product that sold online. That's how the company started, off of viral TikTok.
Okay, I have so many questions.
Yeah,
First of
yeah.
all, it's news to me. In Europe, they can put a wine bottle inside of a chocolate?
Yeah, so I don't have a sample here, but it's essentially the same concept. It's just this humongous, giant hollow chocolate egg, and during Easter, it's very common in Italy mostly to gift these giant chocolate eggs. They're wrapped in just cellophane wrappers with a cute little bow, Buona Pasqua, Happy Easter. And just depending on who you give it to, I mean, there's some for kids, there's some for little boys, little girls, adults, co-workers, partners, whatever. And, the ones for kids have like stuffed animals inside. If you're giving it to a coworker or your partner or something like that, you could fit a whole bottle of wine inside this huge, let's say, 8-pound chocolate Easter egg. It's bigger than your head, at that point, but you give it to them, And you're like, oh, cool. And, you break this chocolate egg open, and inside, there's just endless things. They have jewelries, some with jewelries, and, those could be up to like 2,000 euros. The ones with bottle of wines are probably like, 15 euros, 20 bucks, or something like that. The ones for kids are probably like 8 or 10 bucks. Super awesome. I thought that was just the coolest thing ever. And we've never seen those here, so I kind of drew a lot from that for this product.
So connect the dots for us then. How do you
Yeah.
go from having this experience in Europe where you're seeing some different things and going, oh, that's interesting, that's cool,
Mhm.
to connecting the dots on this new idea?
So, kind of like I said, the inspiration really came from just this hollow chocolate egg with something on the inside. And I thought that was super cool. I was like, why don't we have anything like this here? When I came up with Cocoa Bombs, it was winter time, cold, freezing. My buddy was making just a hot chocolate for him and his girlfriend. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, things just kind of started like coming together for a bit. And I just like let it sit for a few days. I didn't really think about it immediately. But it was a weekend. It was a Saturday. I remember this, and it was my mom's birthday too. So the company's anniversary and my mom's birthday fall on the same day. So that's when we started
Easy
it.
to remember. Smart.
Easy to remember. Yep. So we celebrate both now every year. My mom's a big part of the company too. And I just kind of like started playing around with this idea. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I wonder if there's something I could do, and it just kind of clicked, everything at once. The name also came together. Just it just came. I really have no idea. I started kind of looking around. I played with a bunch of ideas like, oh, chocolate balls, chocolate bombs, chocolate hot cocos, melts, whatever. Just a bunch of different ideas came to my mind. And when I found cocoa bombs, I was like, oh, this is cool, because like bath bombs, cocoa bombs, like that, it works. It's easy
Idea.
to
Yeah.
remember, simple, straight to the point. And I checked all the social media channels. None of them were taken. And I got all of them. And, that's kind of how I just started putting the product together, the packaging, the brand, the social medias, the website, everything just kind of came out at once. Yeah.
What's interesting is many entrepreneurs I know at the stage they have this idea are thinking, oh, I got to get a trademark attorney
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
I've got to set up a formal business structure. So you didn't
Yep.
do any of that. You just
So,
said, I'm going to see if I can make one of these. So how
yeah.
was that? You had
Yeah.
this idea in your head, and then what'd you do?
So yeah, basically, it was when I only had like these $20 to my name, went to the grocery store. I'm like, let's just see if I can actually make it work. Went to Walmart, bought chocolate, marshmallows, went to the Dollar Tree, got this super cheap plastic ornament that I just ended up cutting in half. And then I went home and I started playing, with like the egg idea. And I was like, no, that's not going to work. And then I got the sphere. I was like, oh, this is like better. It's easier to put together and I don't have to worry about the weird shape or whatever. And yeah, I mean, I got a working prototype after a couple failed attempts.
So you made your prototype
Yep.
in a broken ornament that you makeshifted.
And yeah, and a plastic ornament that I just cut around. And I was like, okay, it's hollow now. Now how do we put it together? Yeah, no, it was very, very homemade, I would say.
Well, yeah, for sure. So you decide to put the marshmallows in
Yep.
this thing and you decide you're going to create a video.
Yep.
Sounds like the first time you posted it, you got a little bit of intrigue and interest, but nothing really happened there. So what were you thinking coming out of that? Because clearly you went from there to go, oh, I want to invest some more time and energy to really test this. So what indications were you getting from people that made you think,
So the biggest thing was people were commenting on the video when I first posted it under my stuff. So like on my Facebook, on my Instagram, and on my Snapchats, I made it seem like I had bought it somewhere, if that makes sense. Like I just remember like unwrapping it in tissue paper with like a little ribbon. Like I made it look presentable first, and then I made it seem like I was unwrapping it, opening it up in tissue paper, and then place it in a mug. And then I basically just captioned it like, oh, who would buy this? Like on my social media pages. And people saw it and like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Where did you get it? And like people were messaging me. There was comments, they were replying to my story. And that was the first indication where I'm like, okay, maybe there is something going on here. But what happened was people were not interested anymore once I told them I make these and I sell them. That's where it never converted to a sell ever. And just the interest alone that I had from a bunch of random people on like my Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat that I never interacted with, asking me where I got that from was enough for me to say, okay, maybe I do have something here. Let's take it next level and see if I can get interest from it elsewhere. And that's where kind of just one thing led to another. Found out, or I just started researching like, okay, where can I make a free website? I had some experience in the past. I'd worked with like Wix, Blogspot, GoDaddy, those kind of websites. But I'm like, no, I need something that like is easy to manage to sell. And I came across Shopify, and to this day, we still are on Shopify. It's an amazing platform, super easy to use, does everything we need to for national, international sales. Has all the apps, super easy UI, pre-made templates, amazing. And I saw this and I was like, this is it. It's a 2-week free trial. I don't have to pay anything up front because I mean I'm broke at the time. I don't have anything to my name really, fresh out of college, and that's where I put got some graphics made just for myself, and then got some pictures taken. I'm a photographer, so I got some of those images up, and slowly kind of put the pieces together, in a couple days, and then went back with the same video to a fresh TikTok page with the name Cocoa Bombs.
So a brand new TikTok account. This
Brand new
had
TikTok
no
account.
history with it whatsoever.
No history whatsoever. Nothing. I had my page, but then I was like, no, I can't put it under mine. I have to put it under something else. So I made Cocoa Bombs, just add Cocoa Bombs on TikTok. Posted the video. Very first video went viral. And really, that's where this whole thing started from. All of it. From that viral TikTok video. Yes, exactly.
So between 2 p.m. and 11 p.m., you've got this thing out there for 9 hours and you sell $8,000 worth of stuff. And then you realize, I got to figure out how to make this. So what happened then?
So, I had all this money on hold. Shopify was like, okay, we got to review this. It's on hold. You need to submit your business information for us to release the payments. I was like, oh crap, like I don't have any of that. And one thing I also owe a lot to is Boise State University. They have been a very big part of this journey from the start to even today. What I ended up doing was going back to Boise State. I mean, I had just graduated the semester before, so I was fresh out, and I just went to my old entrepreneur professor, who I really got along with, Kent Nooper. He was super awesome, and I just kind of sat down with him, and I was like, hey, like, do you have a minute? Like, I have something I want to share with you. He's like, yeah, sure. Walked into his office, we kind of just sat there, and I was like, okay, so this happened last night. Started the product, went viral, people started placing orders. I'm not even in legal business. Like I really don't know what to do next. And I just opened up the laptop and I started showing him everything. And at one point I even put products back as available just to show him. And within, I don't even know how long it was probably less than a minute. I opened up certain products and immediately people were just checking out. I think I got like, I really don't know, but I got orders, like a couple, like I think a dozen orders just during less than a minute. And I was like, look, like what's happening? Like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, holy crap. He's like, wow, that's super amazing. And we just kind of sat, blah, 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 talked. And he really was like, well, you have two options at this point. He was like, you can either A, give people all their money back, or B, like get your ass to work. And I was like, I think I'm gonna go with the latter. Of course, like I want to, like, I'm not about to give all this up. Like, and there's a lot of, it's trending. Like I want to continue to ride this wave. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, I know the name of a good attorney you could go to who can help you file the paperwork. He's like, you probably want to look at registering a trademark for the name Cocoa Bombs. He can help you with all that. And of course, we learned this in school, but it's a little bit different once you're out in the real world, of course. So we kind of just had those conversations about what to do next. And I went and met with this attorney who first represented the company when, the first 2 years. And he helped me file everything. We got everything in order. And, one of the first avenues we kind of started pursuing was looking for contract manufacturers, Comans, and we looked around the area in Boise. There was one who was very open and willing to meet with me. I also owe a lot to him. Dave Wagers of Idaho Candy Company has been, I want to say, a mentor of mine since the beginning. I mean, he's sort of in the same field, sells chocolate, candy bars. And I went to him and, kind of sat down and he's like, oh, this is what I have. And he's like, oh, this is super cool. But, I'm sorry to tell you that I can't help you right now. I'm in my busy season. Granted, at this point, we were now in second week of December, middle of December, and I had to move fast. So talked to him, couldn't help us. Talked to a few other people. They weren't so willing to, kind of sit down and go through the paperwork. So I didn't really pursue that any further. And I was just kind of stuck at one point. I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? Like, I have all these orders. I told people, hey, it's going to take us a few weeks to figure out manufacturing. We just did not expect any of this. Are you guys willing to wait? I think like everybody but one person said like no. And it was because they were moving away from the house and they weren't going to be there to accept the package. But everyone else was like, yeah, like we're willing to wait. And I was like, okay, that's so cool. And nice of them, of course, Um, and yeah, next thing's next. I mean, we got in contact with a few different people, and we ended up landing actually at a commercial kitchen in Blackfoot. My mom is very close to the Catholic Church out here, so we got permission to use their space and just start ramping up production. I bought a bunch of molds on Amazon, bought a bunch of chocolate from wholesale food stores, a bunch of marshmallows from wholesale food stores. Dave kind of walked me through with, okay, if you're going to sell across state lines, you have to figure out packaging, you have to figure out labeling, like, you need a list of basic ingredients, allergens, brand, blah, 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 whatever. And yeah, really, we kind of just slowly got everything together and it just started falling into place. Of course, it sounds a lot easier when I say it. Easier said than done, of course. There was so many bumps along the road. But thankfully, we were able to kind of overcome those bumps and just slowly start getting everything together.
How long did it take you to fulfill those orders?
I think that one was, so the first orders came to 2nd of December. We figured out everything a week later, and then it took us about a week to make everything. I would say we didn't ship until probably start of 3rd week of December. So it was, at
Still,
some
that's
point, a
insanely
few
fast.
days.
So
Yeah.
in 3 weeks, you are creating a process to build this thing that you only just randomly threw together one day. You've got now packaging. How did you get the packaging done so
Oh
quickly?
goodness, it was very sticker applied labels. So we
Okay.
got just some
So
random
basic packaging with stickers on it.
craft boxes, made a logo, printed out a bunch of
By
three different
craft boxes, you don't mean macaroni and cheese
no,
boxes that you're filling
no,
with cocoa bumps,
just
right?
craft colored
Yeah,
boxes, I
yeah.
should say, brown standard boxes, put some, cute stickers on it, labels and little baggie and boom, done. It was super fast that we needed to figure it out. But I mean, it worked. People loved it. And, it definitely got us the initial capital we needed to cycle into the next level of things.
Yeah. So walk us through what happened next. How much of your
Yeah.
$8,000 got eaten up by the attorney?
So thankfully, because of recommendation through Boise State, the first attorney we worked with was very kind of, extending an offer for Boise State students. I think they still continue to do that to some extent. And it really helped us a lot because, of course, we had money that we needed to buy for raw materials. And then, we had this legal. And then, some of it needed to go to the space that we were using. And for the most part, I would say the attorney fees were covered without a problem. Raw materials were also covered. And we really had, just enough to kind of buy everything we needed and get us through that first round of orders. We took on a second round of orders, and that was like slightly right before Christmas. Got a few products out, and that was 2019. We finished with cash in the bank, a profit, and kind of just left it at that. It was very weird the way things happened after on.
Yeah. So how did it evolve from there?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
have a
So
scramble around Christmas in
yeah.
2019. So you didn't get much of a Christmas in 2019, did
No,
you?
no,
No.
not at all. Not at all. It was very fast. I mean, December 2nd, the product launched. And then we just had, a week that we spent looking for things. And then another week we spent manufacturing and then sent those out. And then a couple of days we're like, okay, maybe we can do a few more, got some orders in. And then we sent those out and that was it. Christmas was over. And of course, like we focused, I guess I focused on like, okay, like let me see what I'm going to do with this next. And I guess kind of long story short, just jumping year after year now, 2020, there was not much activity through the beginning of the year, I would say until probably October. What I ended up doing with a lot of that money that I had from the first year was spend it to buy a chocolate melter machine. It was just a tabletop temperer. I bought a few molds as well, just to kind of get everything made a little faster. And 2020 came around. We were in the same commercial space. There was not much activity, I would say, until October. So October comes around and it happened out of nowhere too. It was just one day we started getting a bunch of orders on our website and it continued until the next day and the next day and the next day. And I was like, okay, whoa, like we were accepting all these orders. I was trying to catch up with every single one of them. And at one point, I remember too, like I kind of had like a moment where I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, sort of like a breakdown, I guess. I mean, a lot of this was super new to me. I was like, I can't keep taking these orders, but I don't want to say no because it's, of course, like a big opportunity. Um, and I just remember like, I don't know what to do next. And I ended up calling, just a mentor and I was like, hey, like, what do I do? Like, I have no idea. Like, I'm stressed. Like, I want to make sure that I send products to people in time and they have, good, it's like we uphold good standards for the product and for this. And he was like, well, it sounds like you're having inventory problems. Like, yeah, like that's exactly it. He's like, well, what you could do is, try to make as many as you can first, count your inventory, and then post what you have on your website and do sort of like hey, we're going to go live on this date at this time. And it's first come, first serve, like whatever we have is what we have until the next time we restock. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know why I never thought of that. Like, that's genius. So that's what we ended up doing. 2020, we just worked like that. We tried to make as many as we could in a day, which was still very low. I think we were only like, oh gosh, I don't remember. On a good day from like 7 in the morning till like 8 or 9 or 10 p.m., we'd
Oof.
probably only make like 600 units. So 300 3-packs, on a good day. And we had multiple flavors, so we had to kind of like, take the flavor out of the machine, switch it to another flavor, take the flavor out, switch it to another. So it took us time, to make all the flavors. It was difficult. 2020 was a really good year for us because everyone was online. People weren't going out. It was
Yeah.
all online shopping, while people were sending gifts to each other. But it was a challenging year for manufacturing because I still didn't have a lot of the things figured out. But yeah, I remember we worked that way. We made as many as we could. We stocked the items, and I would send out on a newsletter, hey, we're going to be live at Saturday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, first come, first serve. And what I do is, have all the items available at a certain time. Shopify has a schedule where like this option where you could do that. And I do that, and I would just sit and watch the website to be able to like handle any inquiries that came my way. We had our live chat open. We had my phone right next to me to answer any calls. And I remember every single one of those launch or restock events that we did. I think we had like 4 of them. That's all we could do. They would sell out within minutes. Minutes. Everything would be gone. And we have, quite a bit of stuff. We'd have maybe 800 or something every now, like 800 units, 3-pack units in stock every time we did a restock event, which at the time was a lot for us. We would try to make as many as we could, and that was it. And they'd all sell out people would be mad because they couldn't get their hands on them. They'd be calling me like, well, I was waiting and like I just couldn't get any. I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm so sorry, like, and they're like, yeah, as soon as I was checking out, the items weren't available anymore. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm sorry. Like, we'll have another restock event though. So keep your eye open for that one. And, hopefully you get a chance to get the product the next time we do this.
I wonder how much of your success was driven by this limited supply, right?
I
It
think a
was
lot.
create this feeding
Yes.
frenzy
Yeah.
for this
No,
thing.
it was, yeah, I wish we could have made more of these during that time. But I think, everything happens for a reason. And it was a very, I'm very grateful for the way things happen and how they've happened so far. But very, it's very fun. And I mean, it's
Yeah.
still a lot of fun, but it was very interesting to see, like, oh, I wonder if this is how others have started with or have started like as well, just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, give us a little flavor on how the business has evolved since then. So
Yeah.
2019
And-
is the concept right at
Mhm.
the end of the year. You're just slamming to get out those few orders.
Mhm.
2020, you're realizing, oh, there's still some demand here,
Mhm.
but you don't quite have all your systems in
Yep.
place.
Yep.
Then what?
And so 2020 is when we kind of started, selling a ton online. We did a lot of corporate gifting. People were ordering, hundreds of these for their, corporate gifts. And then that's also when we started getting calls um, to ask if we wholesale the products. At that point, I really have no idea what that means. I mean, I know, of course, it's like, yeah, you buy X amount, you get a discount, but I don't know the standard margins that I needed as a manufacturer. I don't know the standard margins that like gift shops wanted, margins grocery chains wanted, margins wholesale clubs wanted. It was very new to me to enter that sort of market very quickly. Granted, we still couldn't even keep up with our own direct to consumer
Yeah.
orders. So for me, wholesaling was like, I don't think we can do this yet, but we'll keep you in mind. Um,
So when did
and
that
that's,
change and how did you figure it out?
yeah. So this kind of ties into the next year where basically it was like, well, I can't keep working out of this, I don't even know what it was. Just maybe it was this very small space of a commercial kitchen. I was like, I just can't. Like, I don't have enough room. I remember this one call in specific. I got a call. He's like, oh, I have about 400 stores out here on the East Coast. I would love to see if I could get a couple pallets for um, all my locations. And I was like, wow, okay. And I just remember like looking at my molds and like looking at like the 100 little 3 packs that I had on the table, and I was like, yeah, like like let me like take you down your information. I don't know if we'll be able to do anything this year, but I'll definitely keep you in mind for the next year. But that call really was like, okay, I got to figure this out. Like I just have to.
For context, how many are in a pallet?
Well, I didn't even know that at the time, but
Yeah.
now, yeah, now we have 13 or 1,368 units, 3 packs in a pallet, 12 per case, 114 cases per pallet.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah, I know. And at that point, I was just like, okay, well, yeah, but I didn't know that at the time. I had none of
So
that figured out.
how did you figure out the wholesale thing?
Okay, so 2020 kind of happens like that. 2021, I'm like, okay, I gotta find a bigger space. I have to find out where I'm gonna make these now. I need bigger machines. I have, more cash in the bank. I want to reinvest all this back into the business because there's still a lot of demand. They're like, I don't know what to do next.
Okay, quick timeout before we go on. How
Yeah.
are you making ends meet personally if all the money coming into the business was going back into the business?
I was keeping some for like we definitely had more than enough to, run the business and even help me. But what helped was I was living with my parents at the time. So they extended their generosity to be like, of course, like they're my parents, like we're not gonna charge you rent or whatever. I take them out to eat, they feed me. We're very close as a family, my mom, my parents. And I think that's just,
So how
really
did you decide how much to take out of the business versus how much to reinvest?
mm, I'll say I only took out what I needed for the bare minimums. I mean, I don't really care about. at that point, I stopped caring about like new clothes or new car or new this or new
Yeah,
that.
you
Like
didn't get to have a life anyway, right?
I don't care. Yeah, I didn't care. I was just like, I just want to be able to like have enough to, maybe treat myself on the weekends after working so hard to like, I don't know, some sort of, like a Chipotle meal or something like that, whatever.
Yeah.
I just, and to this day, I really don't care that much either. I just want to be able to like run the business successfully, have our people be happy, and just for me, the bare minimums to be able to get by. You know.
All right. So you need a space.
Yeah. So needed space. Looked everywhere. Boise, out of the question. Way too expensive. Didn't have anybody there that could help me. Started looking in Blackfoot, Idaho Falls, Southeast Idaho area. There was nothing. But long story short, I ended up meeting a developer, which is where we are now out here in Blackfoot, just kind of right in between Idaho Falls, Blackfoot and Idaho Falls. They got a building. They had a building. They had some space. Talked about what I needed, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, like this is definitely something that is in our specialty. Like we can do it." Super long story short, we are now leasing a space from this developer. It was basically just built from the ground up. There was nothing here
Exactly
before.
for you guys.
Yeah, pretty. I would say it's very generic, but a lot of the elements in there, of course, are for food manufacturing.
Yep.
And we just lease it from them. It works out great. It's a win-win for them. It's a win-win for us. And this was 2021. Early in the spring, we had the conversation. By October of 2021, we had moved into the building and we started ramping up production. I had a rep group that I was working with. I started contacting all the wholesale inquiries that I had from 2020 and the corporate gifting orders that we had. I remember I had to turn down a like huge order. It was like a $50,000 order just because I couldn't make enough of them at the time. But yeah, and I also during that time, spring to when we first moved into the facility, I just started looking on like, okay, how am I going to make more of these? What equipment do I need? Where do I find all of it? And yeah, I did all the research and got new machines, new molds, new packaging made. We started working with Tech Help. It's a extension of Idaho State University of Idaho out in Boise that helps with food manufacturing.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, we worked very closely with Dr. Jana Hamlet, who's a food special or a food scientist, Catherine Cantley, food scientist. They really helped us. Okay, you got to figure out ingredients, you got to figure out labeling, you got to figure out everything that needs to go on the box. And it was a ton of work. But 2021, we did just that. We figured it out. Definitely took things next level. And yeah, we just ramped up production with the help of our workers, with the help of Boise State and
Yeah.
everyone.
So were those food scientists the ones that were key in helping you figure out the wholesale piece, or did you just started doing some math? Like, how did that come
Yes
together?
and no. So they were the ones who helped us figure out our process. So when
Yep.
we were making these, we were making each one by hand and kind of sticking them together, and it was inefficient. We just couldn't make that many. But we had one of the specialists come out here and just look at our process, and brainstorming together, we figured out a way where we could ramp up production from like 800 units a day to 8,000 units a day.
Wow.
And well, now I mean we're at 8,000, but back then it was maybe like 800 units to like maybe 2,000 units a day, right? But just with the limited amount of equipment we had. But I was like, oh my goodness, like this is really going to take things to the next level. So we worked with them to figure out efficient processes. And then we also were recommended to Small Business Development Center in Boise. They looked at the costs of everything, sat down right next to me with a specialist. We broke everything down, and we determined that we were going to start entering the wholesale market slowly because most of our money was still being made with direct to consumer.
Yep.
But we broke into it just to be able to get our foot in the door, which was a very big opportunity for us to launch into some of these grocery stores nationwide.
Yeah.
So it was a very collaborative effort between our company, between University Extensions, between Small Business Development Center, between our mentor, Dave, Idaho Canyon Company, and a lot of different contacts. I mean, really, it does take a lot of people to get something like this up and running. Any
Yeah.
business up and running, I'd say.
So I have a few questions to sort of go back in time and ask you about, but could you just give us a quick snapshot of where's the business at today
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
what's
yeah.
sort of the
Yep.
on your horizon for
Of
Cocoa Bombs?
course. So really quick, last year we entered a very big chain. I think like the second largest grocery chain in the US, under a private label brand. So we did a program with them. It was very successful. We're continuing that partnership. We are looking to just expand on holiday offerings for them. We've also started taking on more private label projects. So we continue our brand, of course, but we're also doing we've expanded into bar manufacturing capabilities. So people come to us and say, hey, I want this bar made. I want it like this. Maybe their previous co-man was more expensive, or on the other side of the country. They come to us and say, hey, we'd love to have a point of distribution on this side to help us reach, West Coast. And that's really where we are today. I mean, last year was the first year where we did, over 7 figures. We're continuing to monitor that revenue growth and expect that to continue this year as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun launching into different product realms as well. So we're working on something else, still a bomb, but a different kind of bomb. So it's gonna be under a different brand, but it's a bomb that's to be used with meat. We
With
are,
meat. Okay, you're gonna
yeah,
have to explain with more
yeah,
words here.
yep. So I won't dive into the details so much, but are you familiar with what birria is? Birria meat?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's a Mexican dish, uh, traditionally made with like goat or lamb. Here in the US, a lot of people make it with beef, but it's if you ever have been to like taco trucks, they have what's called like quesadillas, basically just like seasoned meat with like peppers, but not spicy peppers, just peppers that give a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
And it's a really cool new product. We're making our own version of it, and we are launching it hopefully within the next 6 weeks. It's called a Birria Bomb, Birria, Bomb, BOMB. If you look it up on Google, you'll see a bunch of different ones that are currently kind of out there, but nobody's really been out there in grocery stores, and that's kind of what we're pursuing next.
Yeah. And so what do you do with it? Clearly you don't
Well,
put it in
yeah,
a mug and pour milk over it.
no,
So how does it
totally
work
different.
differently?
So basically, same concept, except it's just a giant, or not a giant ball. It's just a ball of a lot of spices compressed and compacted really tightly. It's about the same size as a cocoa bomb, so about 2 inches in diameter, slightly bigger.
So you
And
drop it in the meat you're cooking and it's got
yes,
all the
so
things in it.
yep,
I'm curious how you're thinking about branding with this, because it's not like there's a
no,
real great connection with
no.
dropping it on the Cocoa Bombs website.
Mhm.
So how are you thinking about marketing with something that's a similar approach, but very different, maybe implementation?
Yeah, yeah. So we've actually explored, just the fact that it's not a cocoa bomb. Immediately we're like, yeah, we can't call it Eric's original cocoa bombs anymore because it's not relevant. So as I mentioned earlier, my mom's very involved in the business. Her name is Pilar, Pilar. Nickname is BD, and I've just kind of thought, well, I already have something that's named after me. Why don't I do something that's more named after her? So that's kind of where we drew the inspiration for
Ah,
the brand Peely's.
Keely's.
Yep.
So you're going to
And
create another brand for this. Now, is the plan that it's just going to be for this sort of birria bomb, or is it, hey, we're thinking of other extensions where you're
other,
essentially putting spices that
yep.
can then create a dish?
Yep. So we plan to launch a couple different products. Really, one of the things that I noticed with cocoa bombs is I very much limited myself to just cocoa bombs. It's very hard for me to kind of well, not hard, but it's not. I would say like if I was to do maybe like gum or like mints or I don't know gummy candy and have Eric's original cocoa bombs on the packaging, it's hard to connect the
Yeah,
dots, right? So with Peely's, we thought about it and we're like, well, let's have a more generic name to where we can maybe, make Birria bombs or make other products
got it.
under this brand and not have to limit ourselves to just one particular category.
Love it. That's
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
Well, that brings me maybe as a good segue to the question, knowing what you know today, if you could go back, what would you have done differently?
I probably would have asked for help a lot sooner. I just feel like I limited myself to only asking um a few people and I kind of stuck with that. I didn't really seek out other business owners. I didn't really seek out other first time entrepreneurs. I didn't really seek out the help of, small business development center. That wasn't even a thing like the first year. I didn't seek out the help of like tech help. Like they had told me about them, but for me, I just thought like, oh, maybe I'll just reach out to them later on. I wish I would have done it a lot sooner because I feel like we would have been able to progress a lot faster and would have been able to navigate a lot of the obstacles that we had during the first 2 years, a lot more efficiently and with less headaches for sure.
Yeah.
No.
Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur
Oh
or
yeah.
that you wanted
Oh
to own a
yeah.
business?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was yeah. Yeah, always.
And where did that come from you? Why?
I think my parents. So, my mom runs just like this small photography business. I was very lucky, like all my siblings actually were very lucky to have always have had her around growing up. So, she works a lot, but she works a lot from home, which is so different than, coming home and not having your mom there. Um, and for me, I just feel like having that flexibility to work for yourself, work from home, while still being able to like, watch your kids or, make dinner, make breakfast, make lunch for them, whatever, and kind of do things on your own time. Like, oh, I have to go run to this place real quick, but I can just finish this project later on, like at 9, 10 p.m., whatever. I saw that and I was like, that's really cool. Like, I definitely want that growing up. Like, I don't want to be limited to having someone tell me what to do, when to do it.
Yeah.
No,
Makes sense.
no.
I'm curious, Eric, if an aspiring entrepreneur, an aspiring business owner came to you and said, man, Eric, you've done some cool things. What's the one most important piece of advice you would give them?
Honestly, just freaking go for it. Just freaking go for it. If you have this idea in your mind, it's for a reason. If you're scared to do it, you need to do it.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had a chance to deliver that message to anyone? Have you seen any businesses inspired from
Yeah.
someone that you've talked to?
From a few friends, yeah, yeah, I have actually. They always kind of just ask me like, "Hey, like, how did you start?" Like, oh, it's because I'm scared, the biggest reason is capital. Like it's hard these days. Like I'm not gonna lie, for the majority of people, like it's economically challenging. It's scary to take a risk like that. But if you I'm one of those people that I believe like if you're persistent enough, you will succeed. Of course that comes with, doing some background research and doing your due diligence. But after all that, if you are persistent enough with what you want to do, you will succeed.
Love hearing that, Eric. That's, I think, a really inspiring message for a lot of
Yeah.
people that could be listening to this. Um, how can people support you? If they're inspired and excited by your journey, clearly they can go to cocobombs.com, buy some
Yeah.
cocoa bombs.
Buy some cocoa.
When is this new stuff getting released? Like, what do you want to share with our audience?
I think for me, it's one of those things where we love making these products. We make it with really good ingredients, high quality chocolate, vegan marshmallows, natural flavors. since I started the product, I always kind of wanted to stay in that realm. We could have gone cheaper with ingredients. We could have gone ultra premium, but I like to kind of stick with that good, high quality, very, very good quality ingredients at a fair price point. We're looking to do some different things this holiday season, new items, new gift sets, just different products, of course, all under our website first to start with. But yeah, you can support us by, buying some products for this holiday season. We do give bulk discounts, especially for corporate orders. We also have sales going on during the holiday season, new flavors that launch. You can visit us at www.cocobombs.com. If you order something, if you want to leave me a note, there's a section where you can leave a note at the checkout. I'd be more than happy to get in contact with you. You could also email us directly at info@cocobombs.com. And, for anyone watching this that wants to reach out to me and maybe have any questions about their journey, you could always email me directly at eric@cocobombs.com. And that's ERIC@cocobombs.com.
Fantastic. And I'm assuming if someone signs up for your newsletter, they're going to get a heads up when Peely's goes live.
Exactly. Yep. So you get a discount, and then you will get a heads up once we've launched our new product.
Eric, I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story. It's really great to see where you're at. And I love the direction you're taking the extension of your product. It's not what I would have guessed based on the first time that we interacted, but I love that it is uniquely you and represents you and your family and something you're passionate about. And it's easy to see when you explain it, some of the extensions that can follow on for that. So
yeah, no, we're very excited. And we'll continue to pursue, the food industry. So it's a lot of fun. I love it.
Great. Well, thanks again, Eric. Appreciate you. Thanks for listening to the Create the Life You Want podcast. If you liked what you heard, you can subscribe to future episodes by clicking the subscribe button, you know where. If you're an aspiring business owner, you may also want to subscribe to the Create the Life You Want newsletter for more inspiration and tips delivered to your inbox every week. You can find the link to that in the show notes, as well as on my personal website, jeremyames.com. If you've already decided you want to start or buy a business, consider exploring your financing options by heading to our sponsor's website at www.guidantfinancial.com. That's GYDANT financial.com. See you in the next episode.